think, do we got everyone? Oh, it's late. That's all right. He's on his way. All right, we're going to call the meeting to order, the Planning Commission on March 15th at 6:33. Ed was on his way. He was at the Ag and Rural Affairs meeting. First up is approval of minutes.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Rich, seconded by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Public appearances for non-agenda items. I think everyone is here for things on the agenda, unless I'm wrong. Let me know. I didn't think so. All right, excellent. Moving along, agenda review, anything we need to change at all, Deanna? Excellent. All right, then we will jump right into it. Hey, first up is ADR for 5955 McKee Road. And we do have Steve here, I believe is the applicant. If you want to tell us about what you're doing here and what you got, that'd be great.
Good evening. Steve Schulfer with Sketchworks Architecture, representing Dan Fleming and Oak Building Partners on this site. This proposal is really an extension of the original GDP that was approved back in 2004, I believe was the final approval. We are seeking to construct another retail and office-oriented building on this site in the vacant parcel that's has been existing now for about 18 years. It's a single-story building. You will see it on the packet there. The architectural theme is very consistent with the rest of the development. We are just seeking a specific implementation for this particular development. One of the items that has come into play is the presence of a drive-through that we've shown on our site. He does not have a restaurant tenant at this time. What we want to do is be able to plan the site for a future drive-through. In my conversations with Deanna, I know that topic has come up, and so she's made it very clear that the drive-through nor would a restaurant user be approved tonight. What we're seeking is the approval of a building footprint and the hope that we can proceed forward into construction, planning, engineering.
All right, Deanna, do you want to give a staff report?
So I think that, okay, sorry. Okay. So I think Stephen explained pretty much what the project is. It's a new building. They are showing a drive-through lane on the west side of the proposed building. And it is staff's understanding that a potential restaurant is a potential tenant. So I just wanted to make it very clear that any restaurant would need to have conditional approval under this zoning district, which is general business. So in order to approve a restaurant on this site, they would need to return to the Plan Commission for a conditional use. And staff recommends approval with the conditions as noted here that include that the drive-through would be landscaped at this time and curbed for later development.
All right. Any questions or comments, Rich?
Yeah, is the ISR listed on the forms, the original, or is that from the build-out?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Is the ISR figure listed on the application from the original project, or is that including the build-out, including this project?
It is including this build-out.
Other questions? Can you tell us if you have any people interested in moving in yet?
I know that he's been talking to a few people. I don't believe that they're solidified with leases yet, so I'm not at liberty to say.
I understand. I would just speculate that he's not going to build it if he doesn't have at least one person interested, probably. Just speculation. All right.
I got a comment.
All right, go ahead.
I am a little bothered by the lack of the complete submittal, the fact that, was it landscape and lighting plans were omitted, and I can understand we could excuse that, but I don't want to get into the habit of allowing people to come in with incomplete submittals and expecting just to be able to, as a matter of course.
Anyone else? Or a motion?
I'll move to approve ADR at 5955 McKee Road with the 7 conditions as noted by staff.
Second.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is ADR for the Fitchburg Townhomes. This is a reapproval. And we've got a couple people here. We've got John DeFeber, and I think online we've got Tammy and Scott. So if you want to come up and kind of let us know what you're doing here and if there's anything changed from previous, go ahead.
Good evening. This is Tammy McCullough from JLA. I'm attending virtually. This ADR was approved a year ago. The only architectural changes would be the addition of 2 balconies on the end units on the front side of the building. We had received administrative approval, but because there's still a negotiation with engineering department, our ADR was soon to expire. So that is why we are here to renew it so that we can continue working through what needs to be done to complete this development.
Anything you want to add for now?
Nope, that pretty much sums it up.
All right, Deanna, do you want to do staff report, please?
I certainly do. As Tammy noted, this has been approved last year, the ADR, so this is just a reapproval. No big changes to be referred to. The staff recommendation is approval with the 12 conditions that are really similar to what was done before.
All right, any questions or comments at all? Not seeing anything. This is actually, I think, the second
I
time.
have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, sorry. What is the time frame for, moving on this? I'd be curious.
Well, ideally, we'll start later this spring or this summer. Right now, we're getting close to finalizing things with the engineering department, which has been taking longer than we anticipated. So we would have started this project ideally last summer, but to answer your question, our hope is we're going to start with the public improvements in the next month or two, and then proceed with vertical construction of the units, either late summer or fall.
Thank you.
Anything else? Or motion? Ed?
Yeah, I'll move approval of ADR for Fitchburg Townhomes with the 12 conditions as noted by staff.
I'll second.
Sent by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that's approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up is a ADR for 5505 Nobel Drive, One Neck, which is another reapproval. And I think we've got Bruce online. Okay, you want to go ahead and tell us especially if there's anything changed. I know that we've approved this, I think, a couple times as well. I think it's Brett.
Yes, this is Brett Van Zee with Envision Architecture. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, no changes to the design of the project. We have taken no issue with the responses that we received from our ADR. The owner has a number of clients that are interested in kind of pursuing the data room needs, and we are very hopeful this year that we will be able to move forward with construction for the phase 4. Previously had proceeded with a couple other phases, so looking to continue the expansion for the data center project for One Neck.
All right, thank you. Deanna, staff report.
Sure thing. So as Brett noted, this is a reapproval from the ADR that was done actually back in 2020. There isn't any major changes. We just have seven staff recommendations, but we do recommend approval.
Excellent. Any questions or comments on this one? Or a motion? Randy?
I'll motion to approve ADR 5505 Nobel Drive, One Neck, for reapproval with the 7 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
Seconded by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. All right, that is also approved. All right, something that is not a reapproval of something previous. D, conditional use 243622. I think we have Cullen and Stephen possibly online. Do you want to tell us what you're doing here?
Good evening, everybody. We're looking to put in a tropical smoothie cafe into the location at 6231 McKee Road. It was Massage NV before, and we're trying to convert it to a tropical smoothie cafe, which is a quick serve restaurant concern.
All right, if there's nothing else, we can go to a staff report.
Sure thing. So this is currently zoned business general, and restaurants of all classes need to be approved via a conditional use permit in the business general zone. So the things that I looked for here, we did just want to take a look, and we worked with Stephen on parking, just to ensure that there is sufficient parking on this site. I'm comfortable that there is parking with this new restaurant. There's also Buffalo Wild Wings and then a sub place too, but that should be all fine. And so staff recommends approval with just 3 conditions that to confirm and comply with any fire department requirements, and then the signs would be permitted separately. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. We'll open up to questions, comments from Plan Commission. I had one just real quick. Do you know what was in this location before? I don't know.
I believe that was Massage MV,
Okay,
or a part of it.
at least part of it was, okay. Other questions? Stephen?
Yeah, I assumed, because I thought was the only open parcel there, when we approved the COVID testing spot, was that last month, was going into that. So now I'm really curious where that one went, or is going. Because this is not a replacement of that, right? So we had a lot of discussion at that time about traffic and parking. We really went around and around about open hours. Do we still have those same concerns? It's the same parking lot with one more business now.
I know looking through the write-up, and maybe you can confirm this, I don't know if it's Cullen or Stephen that's online, but it says in here anyway that they expect during the lunch hour the busiest time, and I think our concerns were like after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, which is why we asked the COVID place to close a little bit earlier because of Buffalo Wild Wings, and I think even the yoga studio is a little busier at that point in time. Could you just confirm that? I think it's Cullen who might be online about your busy times of the day.
No, you're right. The lunchtime is the busy time, as we represented the before. That's where we see the busiest operation for a typical tropical smoothie cafe.
Do you have any further comments, Stephen? Any other questions or comments?
I'll move approval of conditional use 2436.
Before you do that, I forgot to open the public hearing.
Oh.
I'll open the public hearing real quick. I don't have anyone from the public, so I will close the public hearing. And, sorry, no, please do a motion.
No problem. Motion to approve CU 2436-26 with the 3 conditions as noted.
Second.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. Next up is the certified survey map request for CS 2434. And I believe this is actually tied in for a few different things here. And we've got Viridian here for Crescent Crossing Public Park Outlet 7. And so I'm not sure who's coming up. Is Dan or Bruce or... There's a lot of people here.
I'm going to recuse on E, F, G, and H.
Okay.
Good evening. My name is Dan Day from D'Onofrio, Cockey & Associates, and Chris Elders is here from Viridian Homes. These first two items that we're talking about this evening, the Crescent Crossing CSMs, we've been working with staff over the last year and a half to make the two parks that we're planning in the Crescent Crossing neighborhood public parks. And part of that process, working through the city attorney, is dedicating them both as public versus private, is what the original approval for Crescent Crossing was. So we're here this evening as the first step in this process to get the Plan Commission's approval for the dedication of those two areas as public parks. And then we will be going back to Park Commission and then back to council for final approval. Done a lot of legwork behind the scenes in the last year and a half on this, and we're looking forward to making the parks come to fruition here very, very soon.
Yeah, and just to add to that, we did go through parks over a year ago initially, and it was, we went through, no opposition, and then just kind of hit a formality or a technicality issue that we've worked through to get signatures from every single person that's closed on a home at Crescent Crossing that identifies that this is going to be a park site and not an open space. So that has always been fully disclosed, and now we've got everybody on the same page, so we're ready to proceed. Very excited to get this put in. If you do the quick math, just how much that area has grown, you've got 145 homes in Stoner Prairie that'll be built out. You've got 118 in Crescent Crossing. You've got 70-something in Lacey, another 100 plus in Seminole, and it's all connected by the community trail. So it really is coming together over there, something that we're very proud of.
Excellent. Deanna, do you want to do a staff report on E and F?
I do. So just, it was referred here too, but the applicant has worked closely with the city attorney to ensure that the proper application materials were provided, including an affidavit of correction, removing the notation of private open space on Lot 7 and Outlot 11. And then the applicant has also provided release of private open space notation and consent to dedication from each of the current property owners. So it was a lengthy process, but a very important step. And those releases will need to be recorded, and we will be recalculating the park dedication fees, but staff recommends approval of both CSMs.
Excellent. Any questions, comments from Planning Commission?
Quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
A friend of mine just, or my neighbor just bought a place over there. Is that dog park going to be just for the neighborhood, or is it going to be public, or?
No, it's meant to be public, but it's also meant to be walkable for all of the houses that are nearby. So again, it's meant to encourage people to walk their COVID dogs that they bought in the last 2 years and get some exercise and get over there. So yes, but there's public street parking in case they need it, but we're really trying to encourage them to walk there.
So I can take my dog when I visit.
Go for it.
All right.
Other questions or comments? Or a motion?
Other conditions.
There's 6 on both of them, actually.
I'll go ahead. Motion to approve certified survey map request CS-2434-22 with the 6 conditions outlined by staff.
I'll second.
Seconded by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that one's approved. And then F, you want to do that one too, Randy?
Sure. Motion to approve certified survey map request CS-2435-22 with the 6 conditions outlined by staff.
And I'll second that too.
Seconded by Rich. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And 1 abstention, of course, for this and the previous one. Sorry. All right. Then next up is G, Fahey Fields. And go ahead.
Great. You want to start, or?
Just again, this will be our last time through. We're on our third round, and proud to say not much has changed, if anything, since the first time we came through. It's been pretty well received. Staff has done a good job in working with us in a timely manner, and we've gotten everything answered that we needed, and we're moving forward, and we're hoping to start here soon and get this neighborhood off the ground. So really nothing's changed. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
All right. Dina, do you want to do a staff report, please?
Sure, so we'll start off with the final plat request. This is for single-family lots plus 12 zero-lot line duplexes and outlots, including public parkland. The staff recommends approval of the final plat request with 9 conditions.
All right. I can open up to questions or comments from planning commissioners. Or a motion on G. Oh, I should say, I do have David Fahey from Fitchburg registering in support of the above manner as well. All right, who wants to do a motion? Randy, go for it.
Sure. Motion to approve final plat request FP-2437-22 with the 9 conditions outlined by staff.
Second.
Sent by Stephen. This is FP.
FP.
Yep. Second by Stephen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. And then 1 abstention. And then H, anything with the rezone requests additional?
Nope, this is consistent with the adopted GIP and really just sets the framework to allow us to move forward.
All right. Deanna, anything additional on H?
There really wasn't any changes based from the GIP, so staff recommends approval with 6 conditions.
All right. I will also open the public hearing, and we do have David Fahey again from Fitchburg registered in support of this. That's the only public comment I have, so I can close the public hearing and open up to any further questions or comments from Planning Commission. We've seen this a few times, so someone can do a motion too.
I'll move to approve rezone request RZ 2438-22 with the 6 conditions noted by staff.
Second.
Sent by Emily. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. And
Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much.
well, we
Appreciate
still
your
got I, or is this also?
Switching people.
Switching
Oh,
teams.
all right.
Thank you.
Mr. Held can handle this one.
Same area, but different people. All right. And you're Greg, correct?
Greg Held,
All right.
Canothy and Bruce Architects.
All right, what are you doing here with this rezone request?
Okay, do you want me to begin?
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
So I'm Greg Held, Canothy and Bruce Architects. I've been with Canothy and Bruce since 1996. This is the first project I've actually brought through the Fitchburg Plan Commission, though. I just kind of moved into this role, so bear with me a little bit. But I just wanted to introduce the development team. I think you all know David Fahey, of course, because previous projects. But we also have Rouse Management on board with this project. They've been with us since before I was at Canothy and Bruce. They've done thousands of units throughout Dane County and Wisconsin. I don't think they've done anything in Fitchburg, though. But Fred and Joanna both live in Fitchburg, so I think that's maybe how they got together with David. As far as the project, Deanna, can you bring up the graphics that are in the?
I certainly could.
We can probably skip right to the colored site plan and skip
Okay.
the first 2. I think everybody knows where this is.
Yeah.
And while we're waiting for that, I will say we were here for a pre-application PDD, I think it was in November, and nothing substantially has changed. We've just further developed the plans and got a little bit more in specific with things. more recently, we've been working on the building architecture, but that will be for the next submittal.
So, this is looking a little different for me, sorry.
Can we zoom out just a little bit, or?
Yeah, that would be my goal. And just looks a little bit differently. Let me go back. Sorry, just let me get myself situated and then I'll jump back in. Okay. How's that?
Okay, that looks good. As I mentioned, this site plan overall is very similar to what we submitted for our pre-application PDD. We have several different building styles and different heights and massing types. Starting at the lower left along Fahey Glen, kind of the brownish red buildings are 6-unit townhomes. Those buildings will feature individual garages. They're 2 stories tall, a little bit smaller scale building. They're directly across the street from single-family houses. As we move up Fahey Glen to the northeast, those 2 yellowish buildings are what we're considering stacked flats or walk-up apartment buildings. A little bit larger scale building. They'll be across the street from the institutional or school site. They're also 2 stories, a little bit bigger massing on them. Each unit in that building will have individual entrances, and there'll be basement parking. And on that building, because of the size of the units in it, we actually have a little bit higher parking ratio. All of these buildings will have 1-to-1 parking inside. These buildings get closer to 1.5-to-1 inside. And for that reason, you can see one of the changes that we have made since the last time we were here is there's a parking lot between those 2 walk-up buildings that extended quite a ways into the green space towards the stormwater. And what we're proposing to do with that is we'd like to call those 10 stalls to the northwest future stalls. And the thinking is we have probably more than enough parking in that particular area of the site, since we have such a high ratio of structured parking on those buildings, that we'd like to leave that parking out. We think it would improve the project to have a little bit more green space there. If we did need that parking, if during the operation of the project, the manager decided that, hey, we don't have enough parking here, we would do the site statistics, the stormwater management plan, everything as if that parking was there, so we would have it ready to go if needed, not have to come back through a bunch of approvals for it. But we just think it might be a little bit better project if we could leave that off right now. It does push our parking ratio down a little bit on that northern lot. Right now, the southern lot, lot 270, and just quickly to identify that, there's a public street that runs from the southeast corner and then cuts across. Right now, it's just labeled Public Street at this submittal. We didn't know what it was going to be called, right? That is now going to be Tullamore Street. Everything below that in the multifamily site is lot 270. Everything above that is lot 271. So lot 270, because of the relatively lower density and the way it lays out, has ample parking. Lot 271, we're running a little bit lower. We're running about 1.6 stalls per unit overall. And that would be including the future stalls. We'd like to get approval for it to be at 1.5-to-1, which would be what it would be if we didn't have those 10 stalls in that area. But I would point out that the public streets that border these 2 sites, just counting the parking that would be on the street on our side of the street, there's 110 parking stalls there, conservatively. I laid them out pretty conservatively just to see how much would be on the street. So there's quite a bit of parking available to the development. Otherwise, other changes we've made since the last time we were here is we were trying to figure out what we're going to do for outdoor amenity spaces, and we've added some covered grilling shelters. There's one in the northwest corner, kind of serving that corner of the site. There'll be one at the clubhouse that's the area between the two apartment buildings in the upper center of the project. That's kind of the common space for the entire project. There'll be a community room, some outdoor grilling area, a covered patio, management offices for the project. And then there's another grilling area kind of located on the east end of that lower blue building, in kind of a park area. And there's one more over there by the two walk-up buildings that are the lighter brown color. Our developer manages other properties that have parking ratios that are in the 1.5 to 1.7 range, similar type situations that are on the west side of Madison. And I would say that this isn't a deal breaker for anyone. We just thought it would improve the project. Overall, I think last time I was here, we went through the reasons we're asking for a PDD zoning on this, the bulk requirements and the lot sizes, and we're actually moving the setbacks of the buildings a little bit closer to the street, trying to get a little bit better street frontage for the buildings, which is really in line with what the rest of the Highfield Reserve development is doing. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All right, first we'll do a staff report. Deanna?
Sure. So this area is governed by the McGraw Park Neighborhood Plan, and R2 allows for a minimum of 10 units per acre. The proposed development does comply with those density minimums. The mix of multifamily building types creates a transition between the single-family homes to the south, so I think that works well in that sense. And as noted, there was several reasons why a PDD zoning is appropriate. And it appears that the PDD zoning does allow the developer to create a more efficient site plan. We do expect that as the project moves forward to SIP and ADR, that we'll see a unified architectural design and the use of some durable building materials. So staff recommends approval with 9 conditions.
All right. I will open the public hearing quick, and we do have David Fahey from Fitchburg registering in support of this as well. I do not have any other public comments, so I can close the public hearing and open up to comments or questions from the Planning Commission. Anything? We've seen this a few times as well, so we can just do a motion too. That's all right. No need to sit here just smile at each other.
I can motion to approve rezone request RZ 2439-22 with the 9 conditions as outlined by staff.
Second.
Seconded by Randy. All in favor, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. And I think there's no abstentions on this one.
Correct.
All right, no abstentions. Good. All right, that is approved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I look forward to getting back here with some buildings designed that everybody, get to the part everybody really wants to get to.
Sounds good. All right, next up is the public hearing and rezone request for the Fitchburg commercial properties. And we've got a number of people online for this. And so I'm not sure who's gonna speak. If it's David who's gonna run things, go ahead.
Yeah, hi, good evening. Thanks for having us again. I'm happy to present this plan again. This is sort of the next iteration of this process. I'm not sure, Deanna, if maybe you could share the site plan up on the screen.
Yeah, just a second.
Great, thank you. So here, so we're calling it FCP 2. This is our, it's 181 unit market rate infill redevelopment on a site that we've owned for a while that we tore down 5 buildings on. As we talked about when we came here for the GIP, we see this as kind of the next iteration, the next step that this neighborhood can take in terms of investment and in terms of really introducing a mix of incomes into this part of Fitchburg. We have the Fairways Apartments and then the High Line, which has introduced senior affordable housing. We have sort of the naturally occurring affordable housing. And here we're introducing sort of a market rate, which we think will really marry well with the existing properties that we have there, and take this neighborhood really to the next step. I've also got Joe Lee with JLA Architects and Kirk Brzowski are here. They can talk a little bit more about the SIP submittal itself and kind of where we've gone since GIP. And then we also have our civil engineer, Bruce Holler, from D'Onofrio Cockey available as well.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Joe Lee with JLA Architects. I'm virtual tonight. We have the great pleasure of working on another project here in Fitchburg, and happy to be doing so along with David and his team. We were, if you remember, involved with the Highline project across Traceway. This project is an exciting investment in the area, and the package that was submitted and what we have here before you tonight is consistent with the GIP that was approved, and we've just refined it a bit. So there should be no surprises in front of you today, and I'm going to turn it over to Kirk Brzowski, our project manager. He can go through the things that have been enhanced, we think for the better, and that are different from what you've seen last time. So, Kirk?
Thank you, Joe and David. Kirk Brzowski with JLA Architects. Really, this is just a step further than we did with the GIP. Everything is pretty much the same. Obviously, you can see that the building footprint is pretty much the same. The concept is still the same. We still have the row-like townhomes that are in the front, and then the units that are 4 stories behind there. So there's a little bit of a setback at the second story. One of the things that has been improved since the GIP, though, is we've added, we found 120 bike stalls that are going to be located below the building, which will be far above the half a stall per bedroom that was in the GIP itself. The other thing is we did find one more unit when we started to get into the design a little bit more and improve the efficiencies. So we're up to 181 units total, but that's still within the GIP requests that was already approved. So those are kind of the improvements that have been made since that time. I don't know if you have any questions for us regarding anything else.
We'll get to that in a minute here. If there's nothing else, we will do staff report first. Is there anything else before we go to staff report, though? Doesn't sound
No,
like.
nothing that's, in the interest of time, nothing that has changed beyond what you've seen in the GIP other than the enhancement of the design. So it's the same quality of design in massing, in materials. So I guess we can turn over to the staff and then be here for questions.
Sounds good. Staff report, please.
Okay, so there's a couple, I had an error in my staff report. There's proposed in this PDD SIP is actually 181 multifamily units. And as already noted, the plans are consistent with the GIP, so we don't see any issues there. The only thing that I did want to bring up this evening is that we are working with the applicant on the park dedication fees. We did receive a proposal to staff on, and so we're reviewing the proposal and how that might all work. So we'll work through that at a staff level and then bring it back to Park Commission and Council with that proposal for the park fees and the park dedication. The staff recommends approval with conditions, with the 10 conditions.
All right, then I will open up the public hearing. I don't have anyone from the public for this one, so I can close the public hearing and open up to questions, comments from planning commissioners. Yeah.
Yes, so I have a question. I know this is just the rezone, but, so I'm a little bit ahead of myself here, but the lap siding that's noted, what is that material?
That is
It'll be a cementous board material.
Okay, great. There's one elevation that looks very white. I'm not sure which elevation that is. It's A203. So I know we're not here for ADR, but I'm just noting that that elevation could use a little attention.
So before they bring in the ADR.
Yeah.
I agree. As we're developing the and you feel free to pull up the elevations there. It's an interesting building, right? We're trying to capture the feel, that walkable feel of those brownstone townhome units on Traceway, and you're kind of marrying that kind of traditional townhome feel with a much more contemporary sort of warehouse loft style building that's kind of attached to it. So I think in total, it creates a really interesting kind of urban environment. But you have to dance a little bit with those materials to make sure that they're coming together in the right way. I don't know if I'm sold on that white either. I think it might be a little bit stark. And so we're still playing around with that a little bit. I think it'll have some of the same feel, but it might not be quite as bright as that.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
It's meant to be more of an off white, not a stark white. And we really want the attention to be on the 2-story element. So we feel that, keeping it simple up there really brings the eye to this 2-story streetscape. So, that's stepped back as well, so.
I have one really easy question. You said you found another units. You're at 181 units. Did you also find another parking stall? So you have 181 parking stalls?
We have 180 parking stalls covered and 93 surface stalls. So our ratio didn't change at all by adding the unit.
How did the ratio not change if you didn't add any parking stalls, but you added a unit?
Because it was, the numbers are so large that it didn't affect it. It was like 0.001% or something,
rounding.
in terms of the ratio.
The way it rounded.
Would that one apartment then not have a covered stall? And all the others would?
Maybe we can pull up can you go to the plan and we can kind of talk about this unit? It kind of, it's a sort of a unique geometry. You can
it's not going to be in these plans though.
Right. I know it's that the unit configurations have changed a bit as we're kind of developing the design a little bit more. But we had kind of a unique corner at the townhome level where the townhome and that northwestern corner where you have the diagonal, they kind of, you can see it a little bit better here. You see where it says TH on the left side where the townhomes run northbound, the last townhome in the row there, and then just
refuse.
Just past that, there's kind of an odd triangular shape. Well, as we were developing these plans on the upper level, on the second floor level, that all of a sudden that space became available, whereas that was more of a kind of interstitial space, in this iteration. So we looked at it and we thought, well, could we use it for amenity space? Can we use it for, do we need it for any sort of auxiliary use? And it just really lent itself to becoming a pretty unique, nice little unit there. I'm not sure. I don't think we've dove back into the underground parking in detail after that to look at our parking counts. And I don't know, Kirk, do you have a sense of that? I mean, I know we were targeting 180, but I think we have quite a lot of space down there. So I wouldn't be surprised if we could fit, another stall in there to make sure that we have, one for every single unit, which I think is a good idea.
Yeah, I think, there's probably a space, we could probably take it out of that refuse area or something. Get
Yeah,
another stall in there.
yeah, the refuse area was a little oversized.
The bottom line is there's some flexibility in that parking level where we believe we can get another stall to have a 1-to-1 ratio of 181.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
One other, I think this is another easy question, and this is only comes to mind because we just dealt with this at Terrace Point. Is it part of your lease agreement that people cannot use their apartments for Airbnb? Because I know that we found one over at Terrace Point, and they immediately got rid of that. But I'm assuming that's in your rental agreement. I just wanted to ask.
That's a great question. We use third-party management, so we will be using Wisconsin Management Company as our property agent for this asset. My guess is that they do have restrictions against that. That seems like it would be pretty straightforward. I mean, you're not allowed to sublet your apartment to anyone, whether it's for one night or for 1 month. So I'd be very surprised if they didn't have that in there, and we certainly wouldn't allow it.
Other questions, comments? Or a motion?
Yeah, I'll move approval of rezone 2440-22
I'll second.
with the 10 conditions as noted.
I'll second.
All right, Rich seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Nay, because I'm stubborn. Any abstentions? All right, that is approved. And thank you.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, resolution R1822. Deanna, do you want to speak to this, or do you want me to speak to this?
I can just give a quick overview. Sure thing. So this resolution introduces the ARPA, the TID Closure Investment Plan for committee review and council consideration. So the intention of this investment plan is to identify the priorities of council and direct staff to further explore the projects identified. Any project included in the adopted investment plan may require further research and/or council approvals to actually implement. So this is coming to all of the different boards and commissions for referral and approval going forward. And I'll leave it to see if you want to add anything.
Yeah, happy to. So we got a couple of different pots of money that are coming to the city, which is a very unique thing. One is the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, and we're getting about $3 million from the government for that. There's some restrictions on that, but there's not too bad. But it's that's one pot of money. We're also closing TID number 6, and that one is over by Target. That's the TID over in Target there. Been very successful, and we're closing that as well. And as part of that, there is essentially leftover balance when we close that, and so part of that comes to the city, and then we can use that one-time funds for projects as well. And we closed the TID partly this year. Actually, a main reason this year is also because with the town of Madison coming forward, we want to add some new positions this year, and we were able to do that because that's going to impact our budget for the year. But with all this money coming forward, we do want to set some kind of a plan for this money. They are one-time funds, and so the focus is really on projects that are a one-time, more or less, cost. You don't want to add staff positions, for example, because you got to pay for those staff people next year, and that might not be possible. So you're really looking at things like there's a lot of water things, because there's like Barney, Curry Court, Seminole Glen, there's a bunch of projects like that we want to put some money towards. A couple things that are really relevant to this body is that there is money in there to start the neighborhood planning for both South Stoner Prairie and Greenfield. And so 2 neighborhood plans, and that's just looking at the development we've had and how fast that's going at Fahey Fields, Terabessa, that we really need to have and continue to have more lands for not only housing, but also for businesses. You know, we don't have a lot of big lots right now, and there's hopefully some projects coming forward here to take up some of the lots that we do have. And so we want to make sure we have enough in the pipeline to continue to have that development happen. We got into a tight spot, I think it was in the 90s, where we weren't doing neighborhood plans as often as we should have. And there was a few years where we didn't have many lots for housing. And so that's something that we want to avoid for going forward. So, you know, this plan here, all this goes into the CIP and the annual budget. So it's not like this happens and it just gets approved and nothing else happens. It has to get approved through a couple different steps before anything can actually happen. All these projects are not going to happen in 1 year. That would be way too much for staff to do. It'll be over a number of years. And then the other thing is that it's possible there's projects in this plan that aren't going to happen. You know, even though we got an X amount of money, there's more than projects than that actually in this plan. And some of that is because there continues to be some government programs that are providing money for different projects, and we're going to keep applying for those monies if we can. And so we might not need to spend all our money because we're going to get money from the government. We actually just got notification that Senator Baldwin had submitted a group of projects that we are planning to do. There's about $1 million of projects total, and we got approved for funding from the federal government they pay for 80% of that. So about $800,000 we're getting for these 5 projects, and that's fantastic. That's money that we don't have to spend as a city, and so that might happen with other projects on here. Other than that, you know, I think with the TIDs being as successful as they are, we can't actually open new TIDs right now because the state statute, if you have a certain amount of your equalized value in TIDs, you can't open new ones, and we're at that point. So closing this TID will enable us to start opening more TIDs. Though as successful as the other ones are, we actually might not be able to do that for more than like 4 or 5 months before we again reassess and get new values and realize, oh, TID 4 has also been doing awesome, which we know it has, and so we're in that spot again. And so we're actually looking at closing TID 4 pretty soon too, and that's the one actually right here in this area with Promega, the interchange with Highway 14. That one as well is doing very well, and so we're going to be closing that one shortly as well. Other than that, you know, there's a lot of projects in there, and there's some amendments that council has put forward. We're voting on those next week, and I can answer any questions people have on this as well. Rich?
Yeah, I'm a little confused because there's still ongoing construction behind both Hy-Vee and Target. And they're slated, I think, for 2022 completion. Is that right? By closing this, does that mean we have to wait for those to actually take occupancy to close them? Or are we just getting this queued up so that when the time comes, it's a done deal? Or do we risk anything by closing them before, or can we even close them before the construction's done?
So those 2 projects you're talking about is the affordable housing apartment building and then the senior housing apartment building. Those aren't getting money from the TID, and so we can close it without that because we're not having to pay them.
Yeah, I understand that. So they're not part of the TID?
Not really. They contribute towards the value of the TID, but they're not getting money from the TID.
Is there a specific amount set aside for the Lake Barney project, whatever that might be? Or where does that kind of fall within here?
I think it's the infrastructure,
City infrastructure
one, yeah. And there's a rough amount in there that all of it is a little bit loose. It's kind of a rough estimate, and so it could be more, it could be less. You know, again, we might get funding from the government to help pay for some of this. We're going to need it at some point to do things, but I don't know the exact dollar amounts. There is a rough dollar amount in there, and we worked with staff to figure out what that would be.
Okay. So, I mean, if there's a number, once this is approved, I think that Bill Balke is going to chair the next Lake Barney meeting, which is sometime early in April. So it'd be good if he knew to be able to report what that potentially might be.
And he gave us the number, so he should know that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So he's
we got that number. Yeah, we work with staff on what those numbers are. I don't pull these numbers out of a hat. I get input from staff. Some people might think I pull it out of the hat. However, we do get staff input. So he would have given us the numbers on the next stages that would be part of this.
Okay. And the other question I had, is there anything coming out of the closure of TID 6 for the housing fund?
Actually, yeah. So that's a big thing that we're doing, a new strategy for TIDs, is that we, in theory, keep them open an extra year and use that year's increment for housing. And we're doing this with this, and so there is pretty significant amounts of money going into the housing fund. Thankfully, we don't need to keep it open extra year because that money is actually in the bank, if you will, for the TID, so we can just take that money out for it. But yeah, we are. I think it's over $1 million that's going to the housing fund for that.
Great. Okay.
Other questions or comments? I think we have to approve it, so someone can do a motion too.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution R-18-22, adopting the ARPA/TID number 6 closure investment plan.
Second.
Submitted by Stephen. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. All right, that is approved. One more, Resolution R-4022. Deanna?
Sure. This resolution refers to the Seminole and Lacey intersection reconstruction. The project will start construction in the summer of this year, 2022. Transportation Project Plat 22-3495 has been prepared and submitted in accordance with Wisconsin statutes to satisfy the requirement to identify the lands and interests to be acquired by the city of Fitchburg related to the road construction. The attached resolution supports the use of eminent domain through a relocation order to acquire said interests in the event the owners cannot come to agreement for compensation for land and easements. So the acquisition of project has been limited to small strips of land, primarily for path and stormwater management purposes. Approval of the relocation order and filing of the plat with the county clerk is required before the city can approach the property owners with information and offers. So that's what I have.
All right. Any questions or comments on this one? Ed?
There was a discussion of this at Ag and Rural this afternoon also, and there was a desire, if possible, to do the work going to the west rather, on Lacey Road at the same time that the roundabout is put into place so that it's not torn up for a long period of time. I think Chad was going to take that forward to Public Works, and he wasn't sure what the timing was, but I don't know.
It's all one project, so it's not like they're going to be done with the roundabout and then there's going to be a break and then they're going to do the rest of the road. But their focus is initially on the roundabout so that it can be done before the school year starts. They want, because there's a lot of traffic right going through there when the school year starts. The focus is going to be to get that roundabout done. They're doing the whole thing at once, though. I mean, it's one project. It's not like they do that and then they do it as separate.
Yeah, so it'll be this summer. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Good.
The road itself will probably last until fall, but
Oh, yeah.
it's going to be all done this year.
So it is still a roundabout?
Yeah.
Okay, because the supporting documentation, it makes it look more like, just from these sketches, that it would be a four-way stop again, and I was ready to just say no to any approval possible to put my foot down, so glad to hear it's still a roundabout.
This is a good spot for a roundabout, yeah.
It is a roundabout. Yep. I mean, I don't know if it's as good as Nesbit. That was the perfect spot for it.
That one is fantastic. Yep.
Worked well.
It was well worth it. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't-
Well, it does at night. We used to back up almost a lazy road. Never backs up anymore, which is
really well.
fantastic. All right, we're off track. This one I'll do a
I'll
motion.
move to approve resolution R-40-22.
Second.
Sent by Ed. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay. That is approved. Report from departments.
So I just wanted to have a couple of things to bring up. CARP C, the Regional Planning Agency, asked that I inform the Plan Commission that they do have an open comment box that is available for review of the draft Regional Development Framework 2050. And if anybody would like those links to offer your comments or thoughts on the Regional Draft Development Framework, please just let me know. Give me an email. Number two, I just wanted to let you know that we are in the process and getting close to the end on the hiring process for Lisa's replacement, which of course is very hard. But hopefully we'll have some news by the time we have our next meeting that we do have a new hire.
All right.
That's all.
Announcements. I actually have one that reminded me of the CARP C. CARP C did approve Edgewood's request, and so that is kind of going forward to the next step. And so they will start working on final plans, and I'm sure we'll be seeing those soon, but that did get approved by CARP C.
Did they at the same time approve that site for the Oregon School District?
No, because Oregon did not apply for that.
They haven't applied for it, so it wasn't addressed. Okay.
Yep, Oregon has to do that on their own, and I think that Oregon is possibly going to do a referendum this fall for that site. I know they want to build at least a middle school and a pool there with this referendum, and so they're at least talking about that at their school board about if they want to do it this fall. I know that the previous superintendent said that they like to do the referendums in the fall, either during a presidential or a governor election, one of those two. So if they don't do it this fall, it'll be probably 2 years then before they would do one.
Okay.
I don't think I have any other announcements, so if there's a motion to adjourn, we can do that.
So moved.
Moved by Randy, seconded by Stephen. All in favor of adjourning, say aye.
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 And opposed, nay. All right, thank you, everyone.